All right, speed lining. We've got this job. We can't get the bucket in here. We've got a little brick wall. We don't want to break the bricks. We could probably miss those fine. A lot of delicate plants. House with the new gutters and windows, all kinds of stuff. So I'm opting to do some speed lining today, which is a technique, well, you'll see. And there's a couple advantages to doing speed lining. A lot of people will just rope everything down, and when you rope everything down, the branches fall straight down. You got to lower them down. Some guy grabs it, pulls it out, the butt end falls over this way. You got to untie it, you got to turn the thing around and go out to the chipper. Now with speed lining, if you do it right, the branches come down and they flip-flop over, and I'd say 75% of the time they will flop in the direction that you're trying to drag them. So it's a real quick disconnect. You take the strap off, you pull it up, and you're ready for the next one. A lot of times you can set 3 or 4 branches at a time. And, well, you know what? I'm going to set this up on the monopod, and we'll just go to work for a while.
So I'll just cut one at a time.
Any way you want to do it.
Let's try that.
Yeah, okay.
I've known Jeff for 40 years. We started working together back about 1978. And he worked with me for about 10 years. Then he went off and started his own company. And for the last 30 years, he's been doing his own thing. So we've recently kind of reconnected and started working together more. And I had this job. It's not a real tough job, but it was kind of nasty in a lot of ways. It was an Atlas cedar, and it was totally dead. And when you're working with a totally dead tree, you've got a lot of different problems to deal with. For one, when you throw the branches down on the ground, they kind of explode and make a bigger mess. 2, every branch hangs up on itself. When you're cutting them and trying to pull itself through, everything is just kind of snarled up there. So I've talked him into doing some speed lining. Now, Jeff hasn't done a lot of speed lining. We used to do it years ago, but he's kind of, it's almost like he's brand new to it again. So I really had to talk him into it. And the beauty of speed lining is the groundsman has a lot more control of pulling the branches away. So when Jeff makes a cut, I can pull taut on the rope just as he's making the cut, and it sort of springs the branches out. And in this kind of a tree, it was actually clearing the branches from the rest of the brush in the tree. There is a skill to doing it, and you have to be really careful, because when somebody's popping the branches, you can have that butt end snap back and hit you in the face, or there's the other option of when it comes sliding down, if you're holding the branch too tight, that butt end can hit you right in the face. So you have to time it well. But you can move the rope around and position the branches for a couple of different ways. At one point I was going across the street and pulling them out and dropping them right behind the chipper. I was also moving around so that the branches were not piling up on top of each other. That makes chipping just so much easier. If you have all your branches spread out and it's not a big tangled up mess, you know, then you take a break and everything just runs real smoothly through the chipper. This video is quite a bit longer than most of the videos I do, because I wanted to use the opportunity of showing somebody who's not very experienced in speed lining, you know, how it works. Because a lot of people, you know, they get real stuck in their ways. They always do things the same way over and over and over. And this tree could have very easily been roped down, but when you rope things down, it goes completely different. You know, it usually takes 3 guys. One guy manning the rope, the other guy manning the branch to get it pulled out of the way, and then you set it down. You have to untie the rope and set up one at a time. Jeff's actually going kind of slow at this point. You know, he's going little branches, and I keep telling him, take bigger cuts, I can handle it. But it seems like we're just kind of going real slow here, pick. But there was so much to break on the ground that we didn't want to add any cost to the job. You know, we didn't want to have to fix sprinklers and lights and, you know, all this stuff on the ground. And they had a nice lawn.
or wood on the
So
ground.
was really an opportunity
We could do it. Maybe I'll just leave the fire
spend
with
some
that fire out here
time
to get
doing
something
some video
done.
work. I wasn't holding the camera for most of the time. I just kept setting it up. You know, sometimes it was on the ground, sometimes it was on a monopod, so you get a lot of different perspectives. Here I'm holding the camera, but I spent the first half of the day to lunchtime, you know, talking with Jeff and working him through on the speed line work, and I was managing the rope. And he finally started feeling very, very comfortable, and the branches started getting bigger, and it was going pretty smooth. One thing you do have to remember is if you're speed lining wood and you're taking bigger chunks of wood, then the wood can come flying down at you really fast, and that can be really dangerous. In one case, we had one piece of wood that came flying down, and I dropped it, and it took a big divot out of the lawn. But you know, there's a time and a place for speed lining, and sometimes it's really good. Other times it can be really, really dangerous. You know, we opted to piece down the wood, and some of the pieces we roped down, you know, conventionally. But you know, you're going to see quite a bit of working time on this video. I think the first 15 minutes or so is just Jeff, and then I set it up on a time lapse for just a little bit of it at the end. I did the second half of the tree. I didn't have anybody manning the camera for me, so I just kind of set it up off the side. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope it gives you a little bit of insight as to how speed lining actually works. Some of you in the industry out there that have never tried speed lining, this might be an eye-opener for you, or you might just say, you know, it's a waste of time, like a lot of guys do. Some jobs have worked out just absolutely incredible for us. I've had jobs where I've had big trees in a backyard, and I've stretched a speed line all the way across the house and brought the brush from the front yard, or from the backyard all the way to the front yard to the chipper. You know, you've got limitations. You know, as it gets lower and lower, of course, it starts hitting the house. And you certainly don't want to speed line any wood down that's going to hit the house. But the brush has a way of sort of damping down the speed. You know, it just sort of goes on the line and kind of floats down. Here we're just roping some wood down conventionally. I didn't have anybody with me, so I was kind of
I'm ready when you are.
Here I'm manning the camera, the rope, and dealing with it by myself. I was only doing it on the smaller, lighter pieces, of course. Jeff really enjoyed this. You know, it was a lot of fun working together, and you know, you can see that almost every branch as it comes down lines itself up butt end towards the chipper. We've got these loops of webbing. You tie them in a nice loop, put one carabiner on there, and you know, we had 6 of them, and then after I'd toss 6 back up at him, he'd set them all up. Sometimes you can set a whole bunch of them up at the same time, you know, 4 or 5 branches, and then you just pull the rope over to it. And you can see I've got the rope on this part, I've got the rope quite a ways over, and it's tied back to the top. So when Jeff makes the cut here, I'm actually jerking it away, and it's not getting caught up in the tree, and it's coming down really smooth. It's easy to do. There's no pressure involved, and the climber, you know, once you feel real comfortable with your grounds worker, it really becomes fun. I tuned the sound of the chainsaws down. It was kind of obnoxious. I tried to keep the sound of our vocals, our discussions, and what we're talking about up, and then I toned down the sounds of the chainsaws so it's not too obnoxious. This was kind of fun. I did some chipping. I stopped and chipped. I did almost all the chipping by myself while Jeff was in the tree. And so I just set the camera up on a time lapse here. Let's see what this looks like. That's different. You know, I kept the sound of the chipper not speeded up because that would have sounded really stupid. But you see, when you're chipping, especially snarly brush like this, you don't want to pile it up on top of each other. That's a mistake that a lot of guys do. They'll pile everything up on top of each other, and the first thing you do is you go grab a branch and it snags the next branch. So you spread stuff out all the way around. You try to make all your cuts so that they will go through the chipper. You want to know what your chipper is capable of doing. And occasionally you'll get a piece that you're going to have to throw it aside and cut it. But if you think about what your chipper is able to do while you're working, yeah, see, that one didn't fit. I should have cut those pieces off. I just threw it aside. Anyway, that was kind of fun. Back to work. He's still chunking some of the wood down. Some of the pieces we cut him as long logs. Some of the pieces were easier for him to just chunk down. We tried to leave a bed of logs and firewood on the lawn so that we had a target to throw to. Look at that, just lays down perfect, right towards the chipper. I had a lot of fun on this job. It's hard work, but when everything goes really smoothly and you've got a feel for working with somebody who is a good team member and you're both on the same wavelength, you don't even hardly have to talk to each other. You just look at each other, give each other a thumbs up, a nod of the head, and Jeff and I worked together for so long. We really think very much alike, and we know what each other is doing. It was a fun job. I got to say, all in all, it was a blast. We planned the job for one day. I thought the two of us... Actually, I planned it for a 3-man crew for one day, and one of my guys called in sick, so we were stuck just the two of us. Fortunately, Lucy came out at the end of the day and gave me a hand for about an hour. She's a hard-working lady, I'll tell you. She's tough as any guy I've ever worked with. So I kept working with Jeff on this until we got it to a point where we wanted to switch off. We just waited till lunchtime. He did the first half, and I wanted to do the second half. I hope you enjoy seeing this process, and maybe this is a long drawn-out video that you might say is getting to be a little bit too boring. But it's hard to teach somebody something like this unless you can actually see it being done. We also had just an absolutely amazing client, which makes it really nice. She brought us, cookies and water, and offered us coffee, and the whole time she was just so pleasant. It just made the job so much nicer to have such a pleasant client to work for. And one piece at a time. It's just right now. Let's see. It's about 11 o'clock here. At this point, we went back to conventional roping. We just climbed up in the tree and tied some of these longer pieces down just to get them out of the yard. Here, Jeff had to cut the butt piece off of it because we had to kind of piece it down in smaller chunks so we can kind of weave it out of this mess. So you take each branch at a time and kind of look at the direction it's going to go and how you're going to work it. So there is a thought process. There's an order, a very clear order. Now it's after lunch, so I'm going to get up in the tree and do my thing. This rapid... the first part of it, I kind of blew it. My camera fell over, and I didn't get the first half of this, so I set it back up at the end. Here, Lucy showed up. She was giving us a hand. This was the last hour of the day. I was taking a lot bigger cuts. I was just swinging them around, and if you put the rope one side or the other and think about what you're doing as you're doing it, you want one to go one side, one to go the other side, and because you've got the rope at the very top of the tree, the guy on the ground, he just keeps moving over, and you do have to swing the rope back over to the climber so he can get it and hook onto it. But as soon as that carabiner is hooked on the rope, you're just going to town. And I was up there, like I say, I got down out of the tree about 5:30 in the afternoon. We totally filled up the chipper. It was, or the chip truck. So I didn't even have room for wood, and we were getting pretty tired, so we decided to come back the next day. Should have been a one-day job. If we had 3 guys there for the whole day, it would have been easy a one-day job. But, it worked out really, really well. It was kind of funny. The wheelbarrow kind of got pushed over. Lucy didn't realize when I set the camera up, I was kind of laughing at her. She pushed the wheelbarrow over in the way there. So even the top, I used the top. I probably blew out about 20 feet of the top and speed lined it. Now look at the lawn. We did not rake. Not once. We did not rake until the very next morning. Usually everything gets shattered. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that.